Dynamax Adventures, the hallmark of the critically acclaimed Sword and Shields DLC, quite notable for having some of the best shiny odds in the Pokemon franchise, with a 1 in 300 base odds and a 1 in 100 chance if you have the shiny charm. They were heavily requested by you guys on the channel for the shiny calendar challenge, but I had basically never done them before. But do they live up to the hype? Let's find out by doing them for 100 hours. At first, I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. I was like, alright guys, let's get this started. And please carry me. So I readied us up for a Guzzlord den. Guzzlord. Guzzlin' this I basically only played Dynamax Adventures like 3 or 4 times when I first started playing the SWSH DLC, taking Suicune out of the first raid den like a moron, and my inexperience showed in my decision making, such as choosing Nidoking instead of Combuskin here, but worse was choosing to go for the ghost type Dusclops here, when there was a Klefki right there, which would have been 4 times super effective against the boss. Here's a snippet of what my decision making process was like. We got Phalanx and Arachnid. Arachnid would be easier? I was trying to go for a Pokemon that would be easier for us to fight against. And while you do have to somewhat take that into consideration, you also have to think about what Pokemon will make the boss easier. And even though a big part of the game mode is shiny hunting, you shouldn't be using what Pokemon has a better shiny as part of the decision-making process, because that will pretty consistently result in you losing to the final boss. Or worse, even earlier. But who cares about making good decisions when you just get lucky? We face off with our first boss Pokemon and turn 1, I get a 10% chance to freeze with Ice Punch, which lasted until it had 25% HP remaining. But around this time, with all of the boss Pokemon, they're going to be able to move twice in one turn. Using this, it immediately KO'd our Swampert, who is on full HP, with all of our other Pokemon being weak from previous fights. But here we got incredibly lucky. In Dynamax Adventures, the cheer mechanic has random effects, sometimes resulting in nothing at all. But on this one, we just so happened to get a heal cheer, getting everyone to full HP and letting us clean up the Guzzlord for the victory. When you're online playing Dynamax Adventures with others, each attempt takes about 20 minutes, give or take depending on how lucky you get, and all that tension leads up to this moment. Pokemon, unless it's shiny. No Swampert, no Dusclops, no Phalanx, and no Guzzlord. Let's note that I do have the shiny charm, so we do have a 1 in 100 chance per Pokemon to be shiny, but no early luck on that. We queue for a Reshiram, making these same mistakes as last time. We had 3 steel types, one of which was an ice type as well, against a fire type. Tell me, just tell me, how did we win this one? Sure, I ended up getting Meteor Beam Clefable that I Dynamaxed, but we had absolutely no right winning this one. In my brief time doing Dynamax Adventures, Tapu Bulu was the final Pokemon that I saved, and we actually did pretty good on this one. Poison type is 4 times super effective here, and we had Munchlax with a poison type move, as well as Vileplume and Weezing, but we ended up trading Vileplume for Vaporeon, and that would be a terrible decision, but for some reason, Vileplume doesn't have a poison type attacking move, just Toxic, which this is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to the rental Pokemon. Could they not just make sure that every Pokemon had a stab move for both of their typings? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a good one, just something that's not a status move. I can kind of forgive it on the Pokemon that are strictly built for support, but on a Pokemon that's supposed to be even somewhat offensive, it kinda needs a stab damage move in my opinion. Anyway, Tapu Bulu proved to be a bit of a pushover, and this would be a common theme with it. We did each of these 3 dens 3 times each, and even with these bad decisions here, we were winning each time, but through 3.5 hours, no shinies to show for it. Maybe a different legendary or ultra beast would give us some better luck. So we readied up for Kyogre. This is one of the harder raid dens to complete, and it showed here. We had all 4 of our lives going into the final boss, and we needed each one of them. With rain and extremely powerful water attacks, it was able to take out 3 of our Pokemon in 1 turn. 2 from almost full HP, but thankfully we were yet again saved by the heal cheer, as well as getting lucky that it was our 1 remaining Pokemon's turn to Dynamax. And max overgrowth on Sarina is interesting.
Where is that coming out of? Excuse me, Nintendo?
With all of us coming back next turn, Jolteon and Dracloak leave Kyogre on 1 HP, and Surf does massive damage to everyone. If it crit anyone, we still would have lost, but we were able to make it through. 10 Dynamax Adventures done now, but still no shinies, on average taking about 23 minutes each. Hopefully now we're starting to see how this doesn't even remotely compare to Legends Arceus or Scarlet and Violet with getting shinies. Like if you played for 4 hours in those games, you kinda have to try to not find shinies. After doing each of my dens 1 more time, I took took a detour to buy some more bulbs, getting horribly lost on where to buy each kind. After another set of 3 of my dens, we'd go for another Kyogre. We were a bit less equipped this time, heading into the final boss with only 3 lives as well as an AI trainer because of a disconnect. And the AI trainer kept spamming status moves instead of Thunder with its electric type. So yeah, we lost that one. But it did basically one-turn kill everything but my Grovyle, so we probably would have had to still rely on the heal cheer to win that one anyway, even if we did have all 4 lives going into it. But that would be the last Dynamax adventure of day 1. Only failing 1 out of the 17 adventures we did, that's not too bad. There were still no shinies, but again, you'd expect one roughly every 1 in 25 adventures. So the odds were that I would get my first shiny at some point on day 2.
Are you sure about that?
I'd start the day doing a solo run on Guzzlord, and 2 rounds in I got sick of the AI and decided to reset my game for people to join. Having only 1 AI for the next run was tolerable enough, and we made it through. After another Reshiram, we decided to do the absolute hardest Dynamax adventure, Zygarde. When it gets to a certain HP threshold, its power construct ability activates, turning it into its complete form, raising its base stat total to 708, doubling its HP stat. On top of this, it still gets to attack twice per turn like all the other legendaries, and has spread moves. And I'm pretty sure spread moves in Dynamax Adventures just do full damage to each target rather than splitting the damage like they normally would in like VGC, because unboosted by anything, a lot of times they can still one-shot you from full HP. Naturally, we lost this one, dropping us to a 90% clear rate through 20 adventures. We tried Zygarde again the next time through, and we suffered some very unfortunate circumstances. It does... Oh my god. Don't tell me we lose from that. Don't tell me we lose from that. Bind? Yo! I think we win. Oh my god, no! Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We would take our anger out on a Tapu Bulu, then tried our luck on some psychic types, Mewtwo and Lugia. Mewtwo you would think is hard, but it's easier than it would seem. But Lugia is deceptively hard because of its bulk. We'd take both of them out here though, and with that it was time for our 25th Dynamax adventure, and we'd tackle a new opponent, Rayquaza. You guys can duel about whether it's Rayquaza or Rayquaza in the comments, when in actuality it's both at the same time, because you can understand either one. This can be a troublesome fight, but we had our secret weapon. Ice cream, and that proved to be too much for him. But would I get a shiny, or would I go over odds?
No shiny Azumarill. Ready with the code. Let's do a Veltal.
The shiny! Yo, we finally found something, guys. We finally found something.
There we go, our first shiny right on cue. Technically it was slightly under odds, being the 95th Pokemon seen due to failing 3 adventures on the legendaries and having 2 after it. On the flip side though, it's technically over odds slightly because of the few Dynamax adventures I had done a couple years ago. But this was my first shiny ever from Dynamax Adventures, something to be hyped about for sure. Ideally it would have taken less than 10 hours to get to this point, but here we are. You can tell that we're starting to do a bit more variety in our raid targets, rather than just doing mine over and over again. So let's Pokerap the rest of day 2. Yveltal, Suicune, Dialga, Lugia, Tapu Fini, Mewtwo, Ho-Oh, and Rayquaza that we failed. And that's it. These take a long time, guys. We ended up failing that Rayquaza because we only had 2 lives going into it, and we were lacking ice cream. We only had a Clefable, and that's not quite enough to do a hard carry like that. But as we would come to learn, any day that there was a shiny would be a W. By day 3, I definitely started being more strategic in the choices of Pokemon that we would fight against in the raids to prepare for the boss. While the game does surround the Pokemon in mist so you can't quite see what it is, if you know the silhouette of the Pokemon, you'll be able to tell most of the time, and being picky about each fight certainly is a more consistent way of being able to deal with the legendaries without having to get super lucky. But sometimes if you get tunnel vision on what's best for the legendary, it can be detrimental, highlighted by our final den of day 3 versus Zygarde. We ended up walking into it with only 1 life left, hilariously losing 2 lives to Shinotic and losing a 3rd to Abomasnow. So we just got walked right out of the room with Zygarde. We had one other den that we failed that day, being Giratina, though the main reason we lost this one was RNG. But we did make an error fighting a Garbodor, as it poisoned the entire team, and we still had 2 poison Pokemon going into the final fight with it. But our RNG was kind of bad because the only Pokemon that could do super effective damage to Giratina were also receiving super effective damage from it. We had 2 Pokemon that were weak to it and just not enough damage to get past it. This loss to Giratina cemented a bit of a trope that would become a thing during the Dynamax Adventure stream.
Wait, I'm actually doing it. Oh, I'm actually doing it. Whoa, shit, we lost. At least I flossed though, right? No shinies, no bitches. I don't know what's happening. I've gone crazy. I'm doing Dynamax Adventures. That should tell you everything you need to know right there.
For one reason or another, there would just be moments of the Dynamax Adventure streams where either the chat or I would go completely insane. But perhaps the reason for that is DAs, as well as shiny hunting in general I guess, just kind of play into the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, in this case for 15 to 30 minutes at a time, and expect a different end result from the norm being no shinies. Day 3 lasted 5 hours, getting us through 10 successful adventures and those 2 fails. This got us through to our 45th DA, so we were pretty close to getting that second shiny. Surely it wouldn't take that long to get it right? Right? Wait, do I do this in like every video now? What I should do in every video is tell you about our sponsor, the like and subscribe buttons. Here's something new and weird you may not have seen yet. I don't even know if this is still a thing, but editor me will cover it. But YouTube has now made it so when the person says like the video, the like button starts glowing. And when you say subscribe, the subscribe button starts glowing. Has technology come too far? But isn't that cool, guys? Doesn't it just make you want to click those buttons? Just clicking those buttons helps me out a ton. And if you want to go above and beyond, you've got channel memberships, super thanks, or my newly created Patreon page as well. With Patreon or a membership, I'll be posting bonus videos and behind-the-scene videos, and sometimes giving you a sneak peek for future videos. Special thanks to HockeyNut, B-Dot, Layla, Tyrone, and Shadow, who are members already. You can be in the video with them next time with your membership today. I'm pretty picky with accepting sponsorships, so I'd greatly appreciate any extra support, but of course, please don't put yourself in a bad spot to do so. Thanks for listening to the imaginary sponsorship. Now back to the video. We began day 4, and according to the gambler's fallacy, I'd be due for a shiny within 5 raids or so, but that's why it's a fallacy. We faced some brand new opponents today, like Necrozma, Xerneas, and Raikou, and failed quite a few dens today. 2 Zygarde, a Groudon, and a Solgaleo. A couple of them were just bad luck with rental Pokemon though, and I'd keep getting bad luck with the shinies. We went from hour 18 to 20 to hour 25, with 64 DAs complete, and I still only had my 1 shiny to show for it. At that pace, we'd only get 4 shinies in the 100 hours. Not necessarily bad in terms of any game before this, except for maybe Let's Go, but pretty bad if you compare it to Legends Arceus or Scarlet and Violet, where 25 hours would get you boxes of shinies. Now, imagine if I had done this in the Shiny Calendar Challenge. 0 shinies in the past 17 hours? That gets you thinking, God, what am I doing with my life? But of course, some days you get unlucky, and it didn't get too much better with day 5. While the legendary fights were mostly consistent at this point, not having to rely on luck to get there, we still did a little bit too much tunnel vision on what was best for the boss. Like you see here, we go for a Crocodile, and the team was quite weak to it. Finishing the adventures is a fine balance between luck and decision making. Unless you're playing with the NPCs, then it's just basically luck. But make enough good decisions with your team, and eventually you'll get lucky.
Did I just Pokeball this?
This is going to be the shiny. Not clickbait. Real. This is a shiny. This is a shiny.
Finally, dude. Finally. Yes. Let's go. Finally. Oh my God. Finally. Holy.
It took almost double odds since the last one, but we finally found the next shiny. What's scary when you go back to the older games is how likely it is to go double, triple, quadruple, quintuple over odds, and just the sheer amount of time getting past those odds takes. Of course, particular hunts can take you days on days to accomplish in the newer games still, but you'll at least get the dopamine hit from getting phases in between, instead of rocking 2 shinies in 32 hours. Still only on pace for 6 in the whole challenge. But on day 6, we'd start turning things around. We got through our first 3 matches with no issues, then had some back-to-back fails. Speed is the greatest mystery to me when it comes to Dynamax Adventure. One turn, we're all faster, the next turn, it outspeeds all but 1 Pokemon. At least I didn't walk away from this one empty-handed, but you would more times than not. But as I said, our luck was turning around, because only a few DAs later...
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Well, you didn't miss this. That's a shiny Mr. Mime.
With that luck, I was able to call it a day after only a few more rounds. Having 4 shinies now, we're back to about what the pace of shinies should be, and I'd have the naive hope that we'd only be going up from here. But unfortunately, my health wasn't up from here. Day 7 was a short stream, as I was a bit sick. And on a side note, I was sick the past week before recording this, so this video is coming out a little later than I planned. But what a short stream means for Dynamax Adventures is we were only able to do 6 raid dens, one of which we got completely scammed on.
Yo guys, just use a status move this turn and it'll die to Sandstorm. Big flex. Wait, is it literally? Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Bro.
Even with being sick, we tackled Landorus, another one of the hardest dens, and we actually succeeded. And for this success, I would be rewarded.
No shiny? That's shiny. Yo. Shiny Lilligant. Alright.
Given these circumstances, I didn't have much energy, so I called it a day after one more den. The universe took some pity on me there, so now we're actually ahead of the pace that we should be at. 100 DAs, 5 shiny Pokemon. We're still not drowning in shinies, but it's certainly a W for now. Come day 8, I would start playing my new Japanese Emerald copy on the side while we were doing raids. Even with the added distraction, we only failed one of the raid dens on the day, and that was just because we got screwed by RNG. Having 2 water types, a ground type, and a flying type having to go up against a Credilli in the first round. Alas, we wouldn't find any shinies on the day, but we wouldn't expect to, given being ahead of the shiny odds already. And day 9 wouldn't begin until almost 3 weeks later, as before this I was doing the 100 DLC sandwiches video, and after that video I decided to do an uncapped Subathon, and our attempts on the Dynamax Adventures were very much taken over by the Subathon. We'd only end up getting through 4 of them before absolute chaos ensued, and I had to take some time to do some of these Subathon incentives, which will make their way into their own videos soon enough. With only 4 adventures on day 9, we naturally didn't find any shinies. Fast forward a couple days and we're on day 10, day 3 of the Subathon. Having people watch you all day every day is a little weird, sure, but fresh off of the 100 DLC sandwiches video, it felt pretty normal actually. I was basically doing the same thing at that point, minus the sleeping streams. This was one of our better days of execution, only having 1 failed adventure, caused by having pretty terrible type matchups throughout the entire DA. But while completing the DAs were going good, the shiny luck really wasn't. We'd hit a pretty rough dry patch here, going over odds since the last shiny. The overall numbers were still nothing to complain about, being about at odds with 129 DAs attempted for those 5 shinies. And this day would get us almost halfway through our endeavor. After some more time doing subathon incentives, it was back to the Dynamax Adventure grind. And grind we did, doing 9 hours of them on the day. And it was just a weird day in general. I would attempt 25 DAs today and fail a whopping 7 of them. But there were some important things to note about these fails. One of them was caused because one of our teammates was rightfully timed out from chat, then started attacking our teammates in retaliation. The next one failed to a subathon related action.
What? No, there's something wrong there. No, that was tier 3s.
Then there were a few genuine RNG or decision-making fails, but it just so happened that there was some server maintenance on day 11, so I got trapped on a communication screen when they shut down the servers. And the last fail of the day was because I was solo, and AI trainers are stupid. But because of the sheer volume of attempts that we did in one day, you would imagine we got at least 1 shiny.
Oh, yo! We got a Glalie at least. We finally got something. Let's go!
No shiny Minchow.
Johnny Raichu! Yo! Yo! Sadly, it's not a lowland, but yo!
If my math doesn't fail me, 2 shinies is at least 1 shiny. Though part of me wasn't extremely stoked about these shinies because I already had both of them in other games. But getting 2 shinies is still good enough to make day 11 one of the best days of this 100-hour challenge. But I was sitting here kind of wondering, hey, can I get a shiny legendary yet? Like, what's the deal? I'm well over odds on that at this point. But that's kind of like the law of shiny hunting, isn't it? You'll tend to get lucky on the shinies you don't exactly want, but you'll get lucky with the shinies that you do want. Kind of like a twisted, very specific version of Murphy's Law. The next day, after copious amounts of Terra raids and Ogre ousting in the DLC, we'd find ourselves back on Dynamax Adventures for a couple hours, miraculously not failing a single one of them. We did have something weird happen, where we all disconnected during DA, which ended up skipping one of the fights. I wasn't exactly complaining, get you those legendary encounters faster, and I was making a lot of progress on the Japanese Emerald as well, having made it through the 8th gym at this point, and started doing some legendary hunting in a different different way, which I would carry into the next day, day 13. By day 8 of the subathon here, I was starting to think that I'd be perfectly fine if this was the last day, because I was starting to go moderately insane. But who cares about your sanity when you're getting paid to look for differently colored pixels in a video game? And today, oh boy, did I do a good job of finding them. Not only at the beginning of the day, where we were catching shinies in Kitakami, but even in Dynamax Adventures in the second half of the day. Just take a look at this. Whoa, shiny wheezing, yo, let's go. That's shiny. That's a shiny. Okay. And Rayquaza. Boom. Oh my god! Yo! Finally! Yo! Let's go! Let's go! Yo! Yo! We finally got a legendary! Yes! That was 3 shinies in the span of 8 Dynamax Adventures, including a legendary shiny. When snapshotting any set of 8 Dynamax Adventures, the chance of this is roughly 0.005%, or 1 in 20,000. A rare case where I would say, yeah, that was kinda streamer luck, wasn't it? But you know, I was overdue for a legendary, so I was just finally getting lucky with that, on top of getting 2 shinies pretty quickly. By the end of the day, we'd even be looking for a second legendary somewhat soon, at 179 adventures attempted, though with all of the fails, we're probably around 150 full completions. I mean, come on though, more shiny legendaries, more better. And more insanity is more better too, isn't it? Every challenge along the way. By the next day, we were kinda determined to power through the rest of the Dynamax Adventures with the time we had left in the subathon, and we'd get through a whopping 29 attempts on day 14. We did fail a good few though. 2 to Yveltal, 2 to Kyogre, 2 to Xurkitree, and 1 to Lunala. But at least I didn't walk away empty-handed with one of these fails. Let's go! Pink! It's pink! And you know what? Maybe the YouTube/streamer luck is officially here to stay, because this wouldn't be my only shiny of the day. Oh, yo! Let's go! You'd think surely this good luck would need to stop at some point, right? Surely day 15 wouldn't be as lucky, right? Well, we did DAs for most of the day again. Again, failing about 7 of them. Quite rough. But unfortunately, the streamer luck would end up being gone, along with pretty much all of my sanity at this point. Any semblance of it was out the window. My brain had started making me talk all weird, like as some sort of defense mechanism, I guess. Maybe if I wasn't doing just Dynamax Adventures, I would have had a little more sanity. After all, we were saying that Dynamax Adventure streams always went off the rails, even before the subathon. And all of this insanity would culminate in the subathon's day 11 incident. And day 16, being day 11 of the subathon, was just not a good day in general. For starters, from all of the stress of streaming every waking and sleeping second for 10 days now, a massive zit started forming on my face and was on full display, making me want to hide my face for the rest of the day. This thing lasted like a week, and I'm pretty sure there's still some scar tissue from it underneath my pores. Like, the subathon made a permanent mark on me thus far. Then there was some random visual glitch with the stream where it would flash every few seconds on all but one resolution, making me have to reboot my computer to fix that issue. But then, on the first DA back from that, this happened. Oh, friggin' heck, man. And the cherry on top, we failed the next 2 dens after that too. If those events happened to me on a normal day, I'd be pretty tilted, but to have this be happening after streaming 10 days straight at this point, this all contributed to my eventual breaking point. God. Friggin' heck. Now you might be wondering what could have possibly caused me to laugh this hard. Well, it was an emote. A 7TV emote did this to me. But to be fair, come on, it's a pretty funny emote. But my mental status was so bad, my sister actually came over to try and maintain my sanity. Again, honestly, I think if I didn't do only Dynamax Adventures that day, it would have not been that bad. But hey, we'd put on an impressive display of grass avoidance by doing 35 DA attempts in one day. Honestly, that'd probably drive me insane right now. But naturally, with this this many attempts, it wouldn't be too long before we get lucky with someone.
Oh my god! Shiny fracture jump scare.
And in a very similar fashion, I'd be surprised by another shiny.
Crazy. I was crazy once. Oh my, what the bro, I wasn't even looking at this. What the
A pretty neat display of some last-minute streamer luck, and as the clock struck 100 hours, I could breathe a sigh of relief. And more relief was here because there was only an hour left on the Subathon timer before going to bed, and I could hope that my chat was done seeing me being tortured, allowing me to wake up during the night with 0 hours and 0 minutes on the timer. I recovered some of my sanity by going goblin mode in Minecraft Hardcore for a week. I built a Rowlet with a whole multi-floored automatic storage system inside, of course. The round boy be digesting them blocks though. But this concludes the adventure of our 100 hours of Dynamax Adventures. 14 shinies in 100 hours. Pretty darn good compared to games before it, but not so good when compared to the games after it. I even actually got kind of lucky here when we consider how many raid dens I attempted. Now you have to trust me here. This was in no way intentional, nor could I have ever planned for it to work out this way, but the final tally of raid den attempts just so happens to be 269. Nice. So realistically, we would have expected around 10 or 11 shinies. Getting 14 isn't crazy unlikely to get, but we were certainly helped out by that 1 in 20,000 chance earlier. The vast majority of these were in group DAs, but I'm curious what the results would be in solos. Since you skip animations, you can get 2 or 3 times as many attempts in the same amount of time. But on the flip side, you'd also lose a lot more just because the AI is garbage. And good luck beating Zygarde, Landorus, or Kyogre consistently with no humans. Maybe I'll tackle that at some point, but not remotely soon. I need to regain some of that sanity I lost first. But thank you guys for watching. Remember to like and sub, comment which of the 14 shinies was your favorite. Extremely thankful that I get to do these dumb challenges for you guys. But I have been Trails, and I will catch you guys next time.